Hey guys, it's Amber. I'm so excited to share new glitter embossing powders from WOW. Welcome to the WOW Embossing Powder new release giveaway hop. We hope that you'll take the time to watch all of the videos and artists in the hop today and be sure to give them some love. If you like their video, think about hitting that thumbs up, subscribe, and definitely leave a comment to enter to win a $25 gift card. In this new release, we have two trios and also these two colors, Cranberry Sparkle and Deck the Halls. Both of these are Catherine Pooler collaborations, and they are gorgeous. They're glitter powders, and so you can see all that beautiful glitter in there. In addition to these two colors, Galaxy Glow was also released, and two trios that you saw on the graphic just a few seconds ago. I also have Metallic Gold Sparkle and Platinum Sparkle. I'll be using those on my cards. These are perfect for holiday cards and they're really classy. They really go with everyday cards as well, but I think they pair beautifully with this Cranberry and Deck the Halls for some holiday cards. And then I also have Opaque Bright White, which is for my sentiment. I'm going to start off with Altenew Modern Circle Stencil. This is a fairly new stencil from Altenew. And I'm going to tape that to a piece of 110 pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. I have the WOW embossing pad here and I'm just going to press that over the stencil to ink up the cardstock. I prefer a heavyweight cardstock when I'm doing a full background panel because I find there's less warping with it being that sturdier cardstock. Here I have the WOW embossing pad ink pad conditioner, refill, and freestyle tool. It's a long name. I usually just call it the freestyle tool. I'm basically just adding a little more ink to my ink pad. Mine was inked up perfectly fine, but I like to show you guys this because if you find that you're not getting good results when you ink through a stencil, it could be that your ink pad is just not juicy enough. I like to keep mine nice and juicy so that I don't have to press really hard through the stencil. When you press really hard, the ink can kind of smush out underneath the stencil and you're not going to get sharp lines. So make sure you have a good and juicy ink pad. I'll gently peel off the stencil and add the Cranberry Sparkle embossing powder. Now, anytime you're using a glitter embossing powder, you want to make sure that you shake your container before you apply it to your project. You want to make sure that all of the different particles are in there are evenly distributed. This has a couple different types of glitters. Of course, it has the cranberry embossing powder in it as well. So make sure you get it good and mixed up. Another tip for glitter embossing powders is to make sure you're tapping the cardstock gently to get off the excess. I typically will take it off screen and blow on it to get the rest of those particles off. But if you tap it too hard, all of the glitter is going to fall off of your cardstock. So gentle taps is the key for your glitter embossing powder. One more tip for glitter embossing powders is to start heating it from behind the cardstock. This is going to start the melting process of the embossing powder, which is going to embed the glitters into that embossing powder. It kind of acts like a glue. If you start heating your glitter embossing powders from the front, you could blow your glitter away because it doesn't really have anything to stick to other than the embossing ink pad. So start heating from behind, start the melting process of the embossing powder, and then come to the front and finish up heating up that embossing powder. I kept this first melting of the embossing powder at the true speed so that you would have an idea of how long I usually spend kind of embossing an entire panel. This clip is a little over a minute. You can see the melting there. So with your glitter embossing powders, this one has a really nice color change. You can tell that it goes from a lighter red to a much darker cranberry red. Some of the glitters don't change colors very much, but what you will see once it starts to melt is you'll see that the glitter will sparkle. It's almost like the glitter starts to twinkle as it's melting. I don't know if it's changing direction because it's getting embedded into the embossing powder or what, but you'll see the glitter start to twinkle, and that's how you know that it is indeed melting and you're in good shape. So after I get everything melted and see the color change, I kind of just do another once over and look at how pretty that is. So several different colors of glitter in this particular mixture. So I've turned my stencil and I'm going to adhere it to those two pieces of tape that are on the back of the cardstock, and I'll just adhere it to my glass mat here. I'll ink it up again with my embossing pad, and I've sped this up since you've already seen me do this. And this time I'm going to emboss with the metallic gold sparkle. You could also emboss with the Deck the Halls, which is the green glitter embossing powder, but I thought that might be a little too much because they're both really strong colors. I thought having a neutral would be a good alternative. So again, I started heating from behind and then came to the front, and with the gold, it's really easy to see that color change. Check out that sparkle, isn't it gorgeous? And I love the tone of this red. The cranberry is so pretty. So here I've cut a strip of, this is actually LYNNE Epic Black 165 pound cardstock. Now normally I use this for die cut so that I don't have to cut as many of them since it's really thick. And I'll have all of the supplies linked down below, you guys. But here I had a scrap of it, so I just decided to use this as my sentiment strip. For my sentiment, I chose a stamp from the Holiday Tag Sentiment Stamp Set from All-to-New. And I have a strip of LYNNE Epic Black 165 pound cardstock here. Now normally I use that for my die cut so that I don't have to stack as many of them, but I had a scrap of it on my desk, so I went ahead and used that. I pre-treated this with an anti-static powder tool, and you can see there's a lot of powder on there. And I'll go ahead and heat emboss this with opaque bright white. This is the super fine version. So I love this for sentiments. I think you get a cleaner sentiment when you use the super fine powder. I'll go ahead and melt this, and even though it's not a glitter powder, I'm so used to heating from behind that's what I did for this one as well. I'm fanning the cinnamon strip to make sure that the embossing powder is completely cooled before I knock off that excess powder with my Nuvo surface sweep. This brush is awesome, you guys. I use it every time I emboss, especially if you have any extra powder left over on your glass mat. It just sweeps it away so quickly. I went ahead and mounted this on sticky back fun foam and adhered it to the card, and this card is done. I opted not to use any sequins or any other embellishments because there's so much glitter and pizzazz going on already. I didn't feel like it really needed it. Moving on to the next card, I have the Castle Motif stencil here. It's also one of the newer stencils from All-to-New. And this time I'll ink blend the background first and then do some heat embossing on top of that. I have one of the small All-to-New ink blending tools here, and 4 brushes come in each set of those. The small ones are a great complement to the larger brushes. So I'm just ink blending on Ruby Red Crisp Dye ink here. I'm putting it on lightly so it looks more pink than it does red. And then for the leaves, I'm going to use Frayed Leaf first, and then I'll come in and deepen up the shadows and kind of the base of the leaves with Evergreen Crisp Dye ink. So embossing powder doesn't stick very well to Crisp Dye ink, so I decided to pull out my mixed media ink, which are pigment inks, and add a little bit just to the base of those to get my embossing powders to stick. I don't know why I didn't think just to ink blend with the Wow embossing pad. You could totally do that too. It's not like this mixed media ink that I added is adding anything in terms of color to the project. So I don't know. I guess I was just thinking, oh, this isn't going to stick to the Crisp Dye ink, so I'll just use my pigment inks. Who knows? So I have the Deck the Halls embossing powder here, and I'm sprinkling that on, and you can see that it's just going on partially onto the leaves. Now here, I only want a little bit of that glitter on. So here I am actually purposefully knocking off more of that glitter just so that it doesn't completely cover up my leaves. So you can see me kind of tapping it harder than I normally would here. I went ahead and heat embossed and melted the green glitter embossing powder off screen, and then I added some ink to the flowers, and here I'm putting on metallic platinum sparkle. Now I didn't love this combination, the platinum sparkle with those pink flowers, so ultimately I inked it up again with actually a blending brush in the Wow embossing ink, and I'm going to put cranberry sparkle right on top of that. I tried to leave just a little bit of the platinum sparkle showing through so it has a little bit of a two-toned effect. but really you can see mostly the cranberry sparkle. To finish off the card, I trimmed down the panel and popped it up on Sticky Back Fun Foam. And I did that because I smeared the ink around a couple of the red flowers, so I trimmed off the part that was smeared. The sentiment that you see here is from my World Card Making Day video, and in that video I used another brand new release, the Summer Scoops Trio, so you'll want to check that video out. I'll link it in the top right hand corner. We'd love to hear from you, so definitely we hope that you take the time to enjoy each of the artist videos on the Hop. Be sure to leave them some love and a thumbs up if you enjoyed their videos. I'd love to know what you think of this partial glitter embossing along with the ink blending. Is that a technique that you're excited to try? Let me know down below. If you enjoy the videos along the Hop, we hope that you consider subscribing and giving that thumbs up and click that bell so that you won't miss any new inspiration. Don't forget to search #WowEmbossingPowder to find all of the videos in this Hop. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you real soon with more inspiration.